Let me tell you something powerful today. Nothing in your life is random. You didn't come this far just to be left wondering what's next. You are exactly where you're meant to be, even if right now it doesn't make sense, even if it feels like everything is falling apart. Because here's the truth, God knows what's next for you. You might be sitting in a season of uncertainty, asking, why am I here? Why did that opportunity close? Why did that person walk away? Why did that dream seem to crumble? And in those moments, you start to question yourself, maybe even question your worth. But the answer is not in what you lost. The answer is in what's being prepared for you. See, when you don't know the next step, that's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of faith, because faith begins where human understanding ends. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. You're supposed to trust that what's ahead is bigger, better, and bolder than what's behind you. Maybe you've been working hard and nothing's changing. Maybe you've been praying, believing, and waiting, and it feels like silence, but silence doesn't mean absence. It means preparation. When God is quiet, he's not ignoring you. He's organizing the next chapter of your story. He's aligning people, opportunities, and moments that will change your direction in an instant. You see, we all want clarity. We all want the map. But God doesn't give you the whole map. He gives you one step, because if he showed you everything, you'd run ahead of his timing, and timing matters. What's meant for you will come when you're ready, not when you're impatient. There's a reason that door didn't open. There's a reason that relationship didn't work. There's a reason you didn't get what you wanted when you wanted it. You were being protected, redirected, prepared. Every delay, every disappointment, every detour, it's part of divine direction. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and say, that had to happen. That pain made me stronger. That closed door led me to the right one. That delay wasn't a setback. It was set up for something greater. So I want you to hear this today. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are being guided. The same power that created the stars, the same wisdom that designed this universe is writing the next chapter of your life. You think you're waiting on God, but often he's waiting on you to trust him deeper, to stop trying to control what's not yours to control, to believe that what's next will be worth the wait. Because when you finally release your timeline, you allow God to release his plan. So don't panic in the pause. Don't fear the unknown. Don't let frustration steal your faith. What looks like an ending might actually be a beginning in disguise. What feels like loss might be the seed of your next breakthrough. What feels like silence might be God saying, stay still. I'm working on something you can't yet see. You are being shaped in the shadows for a spotlight moment that hasn't yet arrived. And when it does, when everything suddenly aligns, you'll understand why you had to walk through the uncertainty, the waiting, the heartbreak, the confusion. So here's your reminder today. God knows what's next for you. You don't need to chase. You don't need to beg. You don't need to fear missing out. What's meant for you has your name on it. No one can take it. No one can delay it. No one can block it. The plan is already written. The outcome already decided. Your job is to stay faithful in the middle, grateful in the waiting, and unstoppable in your belief. Because when you walk with trust instead of fear, when you believe that every season has purpose, when you stop doubting the author and start embracing the process, everything begins to shift. You were never abandoned. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared for something extraordinary. And one day soon, you'll wake up and realize every moment of confusion led you to clarity. Every unanswered prayer became the foundation of your strength. Every season of waiting was actually a season of becoming. So don't worry about what's next. God already knows. And when the time is right, he'll show you why the wait was worth it. Trust that God's silence is not absence. It's preparation. There will be moments in your life when it feels like heaven has gone quiet. You've prayed, you've worked, you've believed, you've given everything you have, and yet nothing moves. No doors open. No signs appear. It's like shouting into the wind and hearing nothing come back. And in that silence, doubt creeps in. You start asking yourself, did I miss something? Did I do something wrong? Has God forgotten me? But what if the silence isn't punishment? What if the silence is progress in disguise? What if the silence is the sound of something greater being built? Something you can't yet see but will soon step into. You see, silence doesn't mean you've been abandoned. It means the foundation is being laid in places you can't see. When a builder constructs a skyscraper, no one applauds the foundation, but without it, the building cannot stand. That's what happens in your life during the quiet seasons. God is strengthening your foundation. He's building the character, resilience, and patience you'll need to handle what's coming next. If he gave it to you too soon, it could crush you. But if he builds you first, nothing can take you down when the blessing arrives. Sometimes silence is the only way God can get your attention, because when everything is loud, when you're surrounded by constant noise, it's easy to miss his whisper. So he removes the distractions. He slows things down. He puts you in a season where you have no choice but to lean in, to trust, to listen with your spirit instead of your ears. It's not comfortable, but it's necessary. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in surrender. The silence forces you to stop striving and start trusting. Think about it. Every great transformation begins in silence. A seed doesn't make noise when it breaks through the soil. A butterfly's wings don't announce themselves while it's inside the cocoon. The night before the sunrise is the darkest, but it's also the moment right before light returns. That's what God's silence often is, the moment before breakthrough. You may not hear him, but he's moving pieces, rearranging paths, orchestrating things in your favor behind the curtain of time. When you're in that silent space, your faith gets tested. Because it's easy to believe when everything is clear, when prayers are answered immediately, when signs are obvious. But real faith isn't proven by results. It's proven by endurance. It's saying, even when I don't hear him, I still trust him. Even when I don't see a way, I still know there is one. That kind of trust activates something powerful. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's being made. It takes your eyes off what's not happening and places them on who's in control of it all. The silence is not empty. It's full of divine activity. It's full of unseen blessings and delayed answers that are being perfectly aligned for the right moment. When God is silent, he's speaking in ways beyond your understanding. He's setting up encounters, developing your inner strength, refining your heart. You might be waiting for a door to open, but what if God is building you into the person who can walk through it and stay there? What if the blessing requires a version of you that still needs to grow? Many people give up in the silence. They let impatience drive them to make desperate choices. They settle for less because waiting feels unbearable. But those who hold on, who stay faithful even when it doesn't make sense, are the ones who experience breakthroughs that others only dream of. Because when you trust that silence is preparation, you no longer see it as a delay. You see it as design. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this building within me? That shift changes everything. You begin to realize that sometimes rejection is actually redirection. Sometimes the closed door is God protecting you from something that would have hurt you. Sometimes unanswered prayers are the greatest blessings in disguise. Because if you had received what you wanted when you wanted it, you might have missed what you truly needed. The silence gives you space to grow into the person capable of carrying what's coming. God's preparation doesn't always feel good, but it's always for your good. There's a reason every masterpiece takes time. You can't rush greatness, and you can't rush divine timing. God works in layers. He builds, refines, and perfects. He doesn't just give you a blessing, he prepares you for it. And that preparation often comes wrapped in silence. When everything around you seems still, that's when you're being shaped the most. The quiet seasons are where your spirit matures. It's where you learn patience, faith, and peace. It's where you stop chasing and start trusting. So when you find yourself in that space where it feels like God isn't speaking, remind yourself the teacher is always silent during the test. That doesn't mean he's left the room. It means he's watching to see if you'll apply what you've already learned. The silence is the test before the testimony. It's the storm before the stillness. It's the space between the promise and the proof. And that space isn't empty. It's sacred. When you truly trust that God's silence is not absence, your heart becomes unshakable. You stop needing constant validation because you know that unseen doesn't mean undone. You stop panicking in the pause because you understand that pauses are part of divine rhythm. You start to see that sometimes God withholds answers not to punish you, but to protect the timing of your destiny. Because when you're ready, when the pieces align, when you've grown through what you needed to grow through, that silence will break and everything will begin to make sense. Every delay and detour is divine direction. Life has a way of taking us through unexpected turns, down paths we never planned, into moments that don't make sense until much later. You set your heart on something, you prepare for it, you give your all, and then it doesn't happen. The opportunity falls through, the person leaves, the timing shifts, and suddenly you're standing in the middle of uncertainty asking, why? But what if the why isn't something to fear? What if the delay you're frustrated by and the detour that feels like a setback are actually steering you towards something far better than you imagined? Because when you understand that every delay and every detour is divine direction, you stop seeing them as obstacles and start seeing them as alignment. Sometimes the very thing you think is holding you back is actually protecting you from harm. Sometimes the door that closes is saving you from a storm you didn't even know was coming. We often think delays mean denial, but they can mean protection. That job you didn't get might have looked perfect on paper, but what if it wasn't part of your purpose? That relationship that ended might have broken your heart, but what if it was never meant to carry you to the next level of your destiny? Every no is not rejection, it's redirection. Every pause is not punishment, it's preparation. Every time life reroutes you, it's because you're being positioned for something greater than what you planned. The truth is, divine direction rarely looks like convenience. It looks like confusion first. Because when God is shifting your path, it often disrupts your comfort. He removes what's familiar so that you can grow into what's necessary. If you always stayed in the same place, around the same people, doing the same things, you'd never discover what you're truly capable of. Growth demands movement. Destiny requires detours, and purpose will always pull you away from what's easy. Every delay you face has a lesson wrapped inside it. Maybe the delay is teaching you patience. Maybe it's teaching you to let go of control. Maybe it's strengthening your faith muscle so that when the blessing finally arrives, you'll have the maturity to sustain it. Because blessings come with weight, and only a prepared heart can carry them. That's why divine timing exists. You might think you're ready, but God knows what you can handle. So he withholds, he delays, he reroutes, not because he's cruel, but because he's crafting you for something specific. Think about the moments in your past where you thought it was over, where you thought you missed your chance, where you felt like the delay was permanent. But then later, you saw why it had to happen that way. You met the right person later because if you had met them earlier, you wouldn't have been ready. You got the opportunity later because you needed to learn something first. You ended up in a better place because the detour took you around the disaster. That's divine direction and action. It's not random, it's refined. It's not chaos, it's choreography. You can't see the full picture while you're in the middle of it. You're standing on the ground looking at one puzzle piece while God sees the entire design from above. He knows how each delay connects to the next breakthrough. He knows that if you had arrived too soon, you would have settled for less. He knows that the longer road builds the stronger traveler. So while you're frustrated with the waiting, he's shaping your capacity. While you're praying for speed, he's teaching you endurance. While you're asking for clarity, he's building your character. It's hard to trust this when you're in the middle of it. It's hard when your prayers seem unanswered, when your dreams seem paused, when you feel stuck while others move ahead. But understand this, you're not stuck. You're being stationed. God places you where you need to be so that you can learn what you need to learn. Sometimes he'll slow you down not because you're unworthy, but because you're unprepared for what's next. The delay is his way of giving you strength before success, humility before promotion, wisdom before opportunity. And the detours, they're where the real growth happens. Detours take you places you never planned to go but needed to experience. They introduce you to people who change your direction, reveal gifts you didn't know you had, and build resilience that convenience never could. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life don't happen on the straight path. They happen on the path you never expected to walk. You don't grow on autopilot. You grow when plans fall apart and you're forced to trust something greater than your plan. Every delay carries divine precision. If you look closely, you'll notice that things you thought were late actually showed up exactly on time. The call, the opportunity, the breakthrough, it always arrives when the foundation is ready. That's why you can't rush what's meant to be divine. The same way a seed cannot rush its season, you cannot rush destiny. The soil of your life has to be prepared, the roots have to be strong, and the environment has to be right before the fruit appears. The delay is not there to frustrate you, it's there to fortify you. When you begin to accept that every detour has purpose, peace starts to replace panic. You stop resenting the interruptions because you realize they're divine interventions. The door that didn't open may have been blocking the view of the one that's about to. The plan that fell apart might have been standing in the way of something far more powerful. Life's detours don't take you off track. They take you deeper into alignment. What feels like you're being taken the long way around is actually the safest, most strategic way to your destination. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, where is this trying to lead me? Because there's always direction hidden inside disruption. That disappointment might be redirecting you toward a new mission. That waiting period might be guiding you toward a higher level of purpose. The delays and detours are not random. They're road signs from a higher plan. You just have to slow down enough to read them. Every season of waiting, every moment of confusion, every painful detour, they're shaping your path to something greater. You don't need to understand it all right now. You just need to trust that the author of your story hasn't lost control of the plot. Every twist and turn is intentional. Every pause has purpose. Every delay is divine. And the detour you didn't want might just be the direction you needed all along. You're not behind. You're being aligned with God's timing. It's easy to look around and feel like everyone else is ahead of you. You see people accomplishing goals you've dreamed of, living the life you've prayed for, walking through doors that still seem close to you. You start comparing your progress to theirs, wondering why your breakthrough hasn't come yet, why your prayers are still unanswered, why it feels like time is running out while you're still standing in the same place. But here's what you need to understand. You are not behind. You're being aligned. What looks like delay from your perspective is actually divine timing from God's. He's not withholding your blessing. He's synchronizing your life with purpose so that when it happens right. Alignment doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like waiting, like being still, like nothing is moving forward. But alignment is deeper than activity. It's not about how fast you move. It's about how right your movement is. You could be running in the wrong direction and feel busy, or you could be still in God's presence and be exactly where you need to be. The world celebrates speed, but God values synchronization. He doesn't rush your destiny. He refines it. When things seem slow, it's not because you're losing time. It's because He's aligning people, places, and moments for your arrival. Think about how the universe operates. The planets don't compete for position. Each one orbits perfectly in rhythm, never too early, never too late. That's divine order. And your life works the same way. Every event, every setback, every victory, they're all part of a larger rhythm that's unfolding exactly as it should. The problem is we often judge the process by human clocks instead of divine timing. We think because it hasn't happened by a certain age or season, we've missed our chance. But the truth is, there is no such thing as too late when God is the one orchestrating your story. What's meant for you doesn't expire. It evolves until you're ready to receive it. When you compare your timeline to someone else's, you rob yourself of peace. You can't measure divine timing with human milestones. Just because someone else reached their breakthrough sooner doesn't mean you're behind. It means their alignment required different lessons, different timing, different preparation. Your journey is unique. What God is doing in you may take longer because He's building something deeper. He's not just preparing the blessing. He's preparing you to handle it when it comes. If you got it too early, it might overwhelm you. If you got it too easily, you might not value it. Timing protects purpose. Delay develops discipline. Alignment produces readiness. There's a difference between motion and momentum. Motion is movement in any direction. Momentum is movement in the right direction. When you're aligned with God's timing, even small steps carry massive impact. Even quiet seasons carry unseen progress. You might not see the growth happening, but it's happening underneath the surface. Like roots growing in darkness before the tree breaks through the ground, your alignment is happening in silence. And when the season shifts, what you've been building in faith will suddenly appear in sight. You have to stop believing that you're late just because life didn't go according to your plan. Your plan was never the ultimate roadmap. It was a draft, and God's timing is the final design. The reason certain things haven't worked out yet is because the timing isn't ripe. The opportunity might be ready, but the people involved may not be. Or maybe you're ready emotionally, but not spiritually. Or maybe it's the other way around. Timing is not about punishment, it's about preparation meeting purpose. When everything lines up, when your heart, your skills, your faith, and the environment are ready, what once felt impossible will happen with ease. When you truly trust divine timing, you stop forcing outcomes. You stop chasing validation, stop begging for doors to open, stop measuring your worth by what hasn't happened yet. You start moving with peace instead of panic. You start realizing that waiting isn't wasted time, it's sacred time. Waiting seasons are where your inner world gets stronger. They teach you to find joy without conditions, purpose without applause, identity without comparison. Because once you learn to be content in alignment, you become unstoppable when movement begins again. Alignment is about trust. Trusting that when it's time, nothing can stop what's yours. You don't have to chase destiny. Destiny recognizes you. It finds you when your spirit, your preparation, and your purpose are in sync. That's why sometimes things that used to work suddenly stop working. That's why certain people leave, certain doors close, certain paths become blocked. It's not a setback. It's a sign that you're being realigned. You're outgrowing what no longer fits where you're going. When something feels like it's falling apart, it might actually be falling into place. There's something powerful about releasing the illusion of control. When you stop forcing your own timing, you make room for divine flow. God doesn't need your panic. He needs your patience. The longer you hold on to your version of how it should be, the longer you delay what could be. Alignment happens when you surrender the need to know when and start focusing on who you're becoming in the process. Because when you become the right person, the right timing naturally finds you. You're not behind, you're in training. Every delay, every pause, every moment of waiting is sharpening something inside you. It's refining your faith, humbling your ego, strengthening your vision. You're not losing ground. You're gaining wisdom. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. You're not being forgotten. You're being fine-tuned. God is aligning your path so that when your time comes, it's undeniable. No one will be able to take credit for it. No one will be able to block it. It will arrive so clearly, so perfectly that you'll know it was never late. It was always right on time. So every time you feel like life is moving too slow, remind yourself that speed is not success. Alignment is. You could have everything fast and lose it all because it wasn't in season. Or you could have it at the right time and sustain it because you were prepared. The wait is not a punishment. It's a process. The slow seasons are not wasted. They're sacred. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be for the next step to make sense. And when that step comes, it will come swiftly, clearly, and powerfully because divine timing doesn't miss. It simply aligns everything until you're ready to walk into what's already yours. Faith begins where understanding ends. There comes a moment in every person's journey where logic fails, where reasoning can't explain what's happening, where the plan you built so carefully starts to fall apart in your hands. It's in that place, in that tension between what you know and what you can't see, that faith is born. Because faith isn't the ability to control what happens. It's the willingness to trust even when you don't. Faith doesn't thrive in clarity. It thrives in confusion. It's easy to believe when everything makes sense, when the path is straight, when the doors are open and the outcomes are predictable. But that's not faith. That's comfort. True faith begins the moment understanding ends. It begins when you have no proof, no plan, no explanation, yet something inside of you whispers, keep going. A faith is not blind optimism. It's not ignoring reality or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Faith is choosing to see beyond what's visible. It's believing that what's happening now is not the whole story. It's trusting that the unseen is working just as powerfully as what's seen. Faith says, even though I can't trace his hand, I'll trust his heart. And that trust, that surrender, that refusal to give up when everything in you wants to quit, that's where miracles are born. That's where transformation happens. When you rely only on understanding, you limit yourself to the boundaries of logic. And logic has limits, but faith does not. Logic tells you to quit when it looks impossible. Faith tells you to stand firm because the impossible is where God works best. Logic says there's no way out. Faith says there's always a way. Logic measures what's visible. Faith moves according to what's invisible. And the truth is, the most powerful breakthroughs in your life won't come from understanding. They'll come from trusting when you don't. There are seasons where you'll ask, why is this happening? Why me? Why now? And you won't get an answer. The silence will test you. The waiting will frustrate you. The uncertainty will make you want to take control. But faith is not about knowing why. It's about believing that there's a reason even when you can't see it yet. It's about walking through the fog one step at a time, believing that each step is leading somewhere meaningful. Understanding demands clarity before it moves. Faith moves before clarity appears. Faith is active. It's not sitting still hoping something changes. It's walking forward with courage even when you're scared. It's showing up to the battle even when you don't see the victory yet. It's building the ark before the rain comes. It's preparing for what hasn't arrived yet because you believe it will. Faith is living today as if the promise is already fulfilled, even when all you have is a whisper from God telling you it will be. Faith begins where understanding ends because understanding wants control and faith requires surrender. Understanding says, show me and I'll believe. Faith says, I believe, even if I never see. That's what separates those who live limited by circumstance from those who rise above it. Because faith doesn't remove challenges, it changes how you walk through them. It gives you strength when logic would give up. It gives you peace when understanding can't provide answers. It gives you purpose when the path feels pointless. There's a kind of power that comes when you stop needing everything to make sense. When you stop demanding explanations and start embracing trust, you unlock peace. You stop fighting the process and start flowing with it. You stop obsessing over how and when and start focusing on who's guiding you, who's sustaining you, who's been faithful before and will be faithful again. That shift changes everything. It takes you from fear to faith, from panic to patience, from anxiety to assurance. Faith teaches you to see differently. It teaches you that mountains move not by might, but by belief. It teaches you that storms don't last forever and darkness always gives way to dawn. Faith shows you that what feels like a dead end might actually be a doorway. What feels like loss might be the setup for your greatest gain. Understanding will tell you it's over. Faith will tell you it's just beginning. Understanding looks at what is. Faith looks at what will be. When you live by understanding, you're constantly chasing control. You're trying to fix, predict, manipulate, and manage every outcome. But when you live by faith, you let go. You trust that what's meant for you will find you. You stop clinging to what's ending and start preparing for what's emerging. You begin to realize that your power isn't in knowing the plan. It's in knowing the one who made the plan. You don't have to figure out every step because faith assures you that every step is already ordered. There will be moments that shake your confidence, moments where fear screams louder than hope, moments where the facts don't line up with your faith. And that's when you have to choose, will you trust your understanding or will you trust your calling? Will you let fear write your story, or will you let faith carry you through uncertainty? The greatest victories belong to those who choose trust over logic, because when faith takes over, possibilities multiply. Doors open that logic said were sealed. Strength appears that understanding said was gone. Favor shows up in places you never expected. Faith doesn't remove doubt. It moves forward in spite of it. It doesn't mean you'll never question or struggle. It means you'll keep walking even when you do. The most courageous people aren't the ones who never fear. They're the ones who believe beyond their fear. Faith gives you the ability to act before you see the results. It teaches you that obedience comes before outcome. You step, then the path appears. You move, then the miracle meets you halfway. Faith begins where understanding ends, because understanding depends on evidence, and faith depends on experience. Once you've seen what God can do, once you've walked through things you thought would break you and still found strength to rise, your faith becomes unshakable. You stop needing proof because your history with God becomes your evidence. Every battle survived becomes a reminder that you don't have to understand everything to trust that it's working for your good. The beauty of faith is that it transforms uncertainty into opportunity. It teaches you that even when you can't predict what's next, you can still prepare for it with confidence. It teaches you that surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's letting go of the illusion of control and embracing the peace of trust. It's realizing that the same God who guided you through the last storm will guide you through this one too. Faith begins where understanding ends, at the edge of your limits, in the place where your strength runs out and something greater takes over. It's where miracles happen, not because you understood the process, but because you dared to believe beyond it. What's meant for you can't be taken from you. There's a deep peace that comes when you truly grasp this truth. Because life will test you, it will strip things away, it will shake what you thought was certain. You'll see opportunities pass, people walk away, plans fall apart, and it will feel like everything you've worked for is slipping through your fingers. But when you understand that what's meant for you carries your spiritual signature, that it's been written into your destiny before you even knew it existed, you stop chasing what's not yours and start trusting what is. No one can steal what's meant for you. No setback, no rejection, no delay, no betrayal has the power to erase what's been divinely appointed to your path. So often, people live in fear of missing out, fear of missing the right person, the right opportunity, the right season. They cling tightly, they force outcomes, they try to manipulate timing because they're afraid that if they don't, life will pass them by. But what if you release that fear? What if you stopped believing that your destiny was fragile and started believing it was protected? You don't need to fight for what already belongs to you. What's meant for you doesn't need to be chased, it needs to be aligned with. It finds you when you're ready, when you've grown, when you've healed, when you've learned what the last season was sent to teach you. There will be things that leave your life that were never meant to stay. You might think losing them is a tragedy, but it's often divine protection in disguise. Some things fall apart because they were never part of your foundation. They were scaffolding, temporary support for your growth, not the permanent structure of your purpose. And when they go, it hurts. You question it, You grieve it, you replay it. But what's meant for you will never require force to remain. It will have peace. It will feel right, not perfect, but aligned. The things meant for you grow with you. They expand as you evolve. They strengthen as you stretch. When you start to accept that what's meant for you can't be taken, you stop trying to control what's beyond your power. You stop begging for doors that close to open again. You stop clinging to people who left because if they were meant to be in your next chapter, they'd still be here. You stop feeling like you're losing every time something changes. Because what if it's not loss? What if it's clearing space? What if it's pruning before fruit? What if every ending is just preparation for a greater beginning that hasn't revealed itself yet? You can't lose what was written for you because destiny doesn't operate by chance. It's not random. It's strategic. The universe doesn't make mistakes. Every missed opportunity, every unanswered prayer, every painful goodbye is redirecting you to what's truly yours. Sometimes you'll see someone else get what you wanted and think, that should have been me. But you don't know what's attached to what they receive. You don't know the cost of their path. You don't know the battles behind their blessings. Comparison blinds you to your own assignment. You can't carry someone else's calling, and no one else can carry yours. What's meant for you will always have a way of circling back, no matter how far it drifts. There's something powerful about surrendering to this truth. It brings rest to your soul. You stop living in resistance. You stop chasing after what's left because you realize that what's leaving was never yours to begin with. You can't miss what's meant for you because it will always align with divine timing. Sometimes it comes later than you expect, but never too late. The longer it takes, the deeper it's being prepared. The harder the road, the greater the reward. What's meant for you doesn't come rushed, it comes refined. Even when people betray you, even when they walk away with something you thought was yours. A relationship, a position, an idea, understand that no one can truly take from you what was divinely assigned to you. They may seem to have it for a season, but if it wasn't meant for them, it won't last. What's meant for you carries a frequency that only you can sustain. It will resonate with your character, your growth, your spirit. It might leave temporarily, but it will always find its way back in a new, stronger, and more aligned form. Every disappointment carries hidden direction. Every now carries hidden mercy. You might not see it in the moment, but later you'll look back and thank the doors that closed. You'll realize that if they had opened, you would have settled. You would have stayed smaller than you were meant to be. The rejection was protection. The delay was development, and the redirection was destiny. Life's closed doors are not punishment. They're positioning. You were never meant to chase what left. You were meant to trust what's coming. And trusting what's coming requires faith. It requires you to stop thinking that everything depends on you. You don't have to control the timing, the details, or the delivery. You just have to stay in alignment with your growth, your integrity, your purpose. What's meant for you will always meet you where you are becoming your best self. That's why sometimes the blessing is delayed. It's waiting for the version of you that can sustain it. You're not waiting on it. It's waiting on you. When you live from this understanding, peace replaces panic. You stop rushing the process. You stop resenting the wait. You stop doubting yourself every time things shift, because now you know that detours don't destroy destiny. The path might twist and turn, but it always leads back to what's yours. There's no competition in destiny. What's yours will always be yours, no matter who gets there first, no matter how many people try to replicate it, no matter what obstacles stand in the way. The timing might differ, but the truth remains. If it's meant for you, it will find you, even if it has to travel through time and distance to reach you. So when something slips away, don't chase it, bless it. Let it go with grace, knowing that if it was meant to stay, it would have. When a door closes, don't bang on it. Walk away in peace, because the next one is already waiting to open at the right moment. When a plan fails, don't label it as defeat. Understand that it's divine redirection toward something higher. You are never losing when you're trusting. You are never behind when you're aligned. And you are never empty when you are faithful. What's meant for you can't be taken, only delayed until the time is right. And when it finally arrives, when everything you've prayed for begins to unfold, you'll see why the waiting, the loss, and the struggle were all necessary. Because the blessing meant for you won't just fill your hands. It will fit your heart, and you'll know beyond a doubt it was always meant to be.